for you. Amen. Listen. Hey, everybody, gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. This is Dr. Ron, host of Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, bringing you episode 461. Today, just a little primer on are we paying enough attention to EMF? Is the Marlboro man now the Nokia, Samsung, Apple man? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for tuning in. Our special condolences to the family of Tatsi, wonderful woman who passed away in November, and she will be remembered always. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I do welcome you with an attitude of gratitude, especially just coming off the holiday Thanksgiving season. But let's try and keep that gratitude going at least through Christmas, and then we'll continue it for the next year, and we will reap the benefits of having gratitude for what we have. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess today, maybe I should have just said, wake up! Because that's what the bees are telling us. You know, I keep telling you about the book, The Invisible Rainbow. Wake up, the bees are telling us. It started on the Isle of Wight with Guglielmo Marconi when he built the world's first permanent radio station. And that's when the bees gave us their first warning. At that time, quote, they are often to be seen crawling up grass stems and up the supports of the hive, where they remain until they fall back to the earth and from their sheer weakness and soon afterwards die. 90% of the bees had already vanished from the entire island. They couldn't find a cause. It was simply called the white disease. Swarms of healthy bees were imported from the mainland, but it was no use. Within a couple of weeks, these bees died off by the thousands. They had just put up a radio antenna. In 2019, a 5G antenna was put up. Bees started dying. They were rolling off the petals of the plants onto the ground. No fruits were being born because they weren't being pollinated. No olives. So in the midst of plenty, the bees are starving to death. In India, they place cell phones in beehives. They turn them on for 10 minutes. The concentrations of sugar, cholesterol, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins rose really, really high in the bee's blood. After 10 minutes exposure to a cell phone, the bees were not able to digest their food or use oxygen they were breathing. Their metabolism had come to a standstill. Wake up, I guess we should be saying. The bees have been telling us for over 100 years when that first radio antenna went up. These radio waves are penetrating everything. They penetrate our skin, our bones, our cell walls, and our ever important mitochondria. And they interfere with our electrons. Remember, we get free electrons from the earth when we walk barefoot or ground ourselves or practice earthing. Well, these radio waves prevent electrons from our food from combining with the oxygen we breathe. Could this be why we're seeing so much diabetes and heart disease and cancer? from that first Marconi tower. There's radio waves broadcasting all over through tall towers. We won't have to worry about global climate, anything, if the planet becomes extinct, huh? And then with all the satellites going up, well, in any case, you get the idea. I just found out that SpaceX has applied for a permit to launch 42,000 satellites. 42,000 satellites. There will be more satellites than stars, huh? So we're swimming in this stuff, and this radiation comes from baby monitors, cell phones, cordless phones, Wi-Fi routers, smart meters, and wireless devices, and it's causing serious mitochondrial dysfunction. It's causing diseases. Diseases that have been linked to it are Alzheimer's, autism, cardiac arrhythmias, irregular beats of the heart, depression, and infertility. Pregnant women are really affected by EMFs and putting their child at risk for ADHD and autism, as well as emotional and social issues. So we're still talking about it, but are we doing anything about it? And it's not only in our houses, we're exposed to it outside also. Cell towers, Wi-Fi all around us. When I look at the Wi-Fi in my apartment, I see at least 10 people that do not shut their Wi-Fi routers off at night. Pretty hard to avoid it. We are bombarded 24 hours a day. But is that the reason why? Is this another reason? Not just the only reason. Is this another reason why children have 54% of them have some kind of chronic illness? Is this a reason why people over 70 have 80% chronic illnesses? They have non-life-threatening problems like fatigue, muscle ache, imbalance, tinnitus. I mean, we're not the healthiest nation in the world. And these effects from the EMF, in my opinion, are similar to smoking. You didn't see the effects right away. There was no noticeable effect. But symptoms and problems develop over a period of time. And our cell phones, like the cigarettes of the past. And this is an ionizing radiation, ladies and gentlemen. And some people think it can break the bonds between the DNA. So lots of people have written about this. But I want to talk a little bit about it, and then I want to talk to you about mitochondria and how this radiation from cell phones and smart meters and routers, Wi-Fi routers, can cause severe cellular damage and put us all at risk for chronic diseases. And we have a lot of inflammatory disease, don't we? Because inflammation is the basis of most chronic diseases. And our heart disease, our lung disease, our ALS, our atherosclerosis, all has a basis of inflammation, which these electromagnetic fields induce. And there has been significant percentage increases of these diseases since 1990. I'll just read a few off. There's a whole list. I will not read it all. But Alzheimer's disease, bipolar disease of youth is up 10,000, over 10,000%. Chronic fatigue syndrome is up over 11,000% since 1990. Diabetes, 305%. Underactive thyroid, hypothyroidism is up 702%. Sleep apnea increased since 1990, 430%. So, should we wake up? Should we be taking this more serious? We talked about a crisis in humanity because we're not producing children. Men's sperm is shrinking and decreasing in size, motility, and sheer numbers. And EMF exposure definitely is part of it, especially if you young guys, you keep this cell phone in your pocket, near your groin, or your laptop on your lap. It'll at least reduce it 8% according to studies. 8% reduction in sperm motility and 9% reduction in sperm viability. That means how they live. So you're getting the idea that these cell phones that we have are not without risk. And I will tell you that these electromagnetic fields are particularly harmful to the eyes and the testicles. The Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, has a webpage titled Cell Phone Radiation Damage. And you'll see a study there related to sperm. For the eyes, the mechanism is unclear, but may include changes in the heat-sensitive enzymes that normally protect cell proteins in the lens of the eye. And there's other mechanisms. One that has been advanced is direct damage to the lens from pressure waves induced in the fluid around the eye. And remember, I said Alzheimer's disease, cognitive function. There was a 2009 study that examined the effect of exposure to EMFs emitted by a standard cell phone on the cognitive function of humans. The study found slower response times to a spatial working memory task when the cell phone was placed next to the head of men. Of course, the longer you're exposed to it, the worse you got. There's some studies showing that cell phones next to your ear can induce anxiety. And we've known now for 7 to 8 years that the cell phone can open up the blood-brain barrier. What does that mean? Your body is infinitely smart, and it doesn't want certain things in the brain, like mercury, like a spike protein. But when you put that cell phone up to your head, that blood-brain barrier opens up. It's like our southern border. So it can be associated with a lot of diseases. So we should be paying attention to it. And how many people, every week, I'm having trouble sleeping. Well, they studied medical students. They probably, that's a good way for the students to make some money. And they studied those who use a mobile phone for more than 2 hours a day. And they found they were more likely to be sleep deprived and experience daytime sleepiness, and it affected their thinking and learning abilities. And it probably has something to do with looking at that blue light from the screens also, because that light keeps us awake. But there are studies that show that EMF can disrupt the quality of our sleep. So there are many reasons to avoid cell phones, tablets, computers, and all before we go to bed. We talked about the radiation, the blue light, and EMF. So you have problems with sleep because of stress and inflammation and EMFs. So what would it cost you to decrease that EMF exposure and see if it helps? Start with that cell phone and the Wi-Fi. We'll talk a little bit about how electromagnetic fields inhibit ATP production because that's where the mitochondria come in. And they do affect our immune system. They alter our immune response when it's challenged. So, again, remember the Marlboro Man. We didn't think he seemed like a great guy. And it takes a while for the effects to be seen. And should you care, I think my message today is you should care. You should care. As I stated in my prelude to the show, Breast Cancer Awareness and National Cancer Institute say EMFs are a type of non-ionizing radiation that emit low-frequency radiation are caused by electromagnetic fields. And the Breast Cancer Prevention Partner says that this type of radiation is considered a possible human carcinogen, with concerns about childhood leukemia and brain tumors. So we have microwave ovens, PlayStations, hair dryers, electric toothbrushes, baby monitors, and these Bluetooth devices that were these earbuds that I talked about a few weeks ago. And it all can be measured. You can get a EMF reader, a trifold reader they're called, and you can measure your own EMFs. And if you just remember this, what I'm going to say now, because it'll tie into the mitochondria. There's Dr. Gittleman says that when your body is exposed to an EMF, electromagnetic field, even the lowest amount, you produce 20 stress proteins that are called heat shock proteins. That means your cortisol, your steroids that regulate a wide range of processes, they go wild. You go into the flight and fright. You go into like your body's being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and there isn't any. But that's what your body feels like. You go into that high sympathetic mode. And remember, unlike a tiger, you don't feel this stuff. The EMFs are tasteless. You can't see them. And we're constantly shocking our systems. And when you have high cortisol levels, you have what? Major immune system depression. Now let's get this out of the way. Yes, there are natural electromagnetic fields from the Earth, Schumann resonances, but they are coherent. They oscillate at the same frequency, which is different than the man-made electromagnetic fields that make us sick. And the natural ones are unpolarized, where the man-made ones are totally polarized and incoherent. And is EMF affecting you, or are you having headaches? Are you having problems concentrating? Are you having memory problems, dizziness, depressed, anxious, problems sleeping, weight loss, nausea, burning of your skin, And here's that fatigue again. And maybe even gaining weight and hard to lose weight may be a symptom of EMF toxicity. Some people think, as we've talked about, it can cause cancer. And remember, when you put a cell phone near a child's head, his skull is not as thick as an adult's, so he even gets more radiation, puts him more at risk. And there are many physicians that have commented on this, many articles written about electromagnetic field. But, the powers that be don't let you see them. They don't make the mainstream media. Mainstream media doesn't tell you you'll get infertile from cell phone radiation, damage to your sperm. So men, if nothing else, never put that phone in your pocket. Bad enough, everything else is going on to decrease fertility in men. Let alone now we got the cell phones doing it. And what is absolutely alarming is the chromosomal abnormalities that can result from this radiation. Martin et al. They say the most radiosensitive organ reported is the male testes. And I'll just and basically the part of the testicles that produce the sperm can get damaged, and that would change the DNA. The sperm will change. And it'll also do the same to women who put their cell phones in their bras, or a pregnant woman on her belly is strapping her cell phone while they're going running, put it on their arm, right? Or those AirPods we've talked about. So there's lots of biological effects, ladies and gentlemen, from this electromagnetic fields. Only to get worse when they release 5G, which has never been studied in humans. Never been studied. So here's something WHO says are health hazards of EMF. Disruption of memory, decline of attention, diminishing learning and cognitive abilities, increased irritability, sleep problems, sensitivity to stress, increase in epileptic readiness. In other words, you could, if you have a tendency to have a seizure, this could put you to the brink. Brain tumors, tumors of the acoustical and vestibular nerves, especially in the 25 to 30 year age group. Alzheimer's disease and depression. And, I have study after study, country after country. And one of these days we'll get into the 5G because it's going to be released all over soon. And the smart meters, we've had podcasts about this, how it's on 24/7, how it's pulse, it can affect you. So we should be worried about ourselves and our children. I've been hearing about this, and I just happened to see this today. I hear about children sleepwalking. So night walking in children is linked to the position of the child's bedroom and to the location of nearby cell towers. That's at electricsense, SENSE.com, electricsense.com. And how many children have allergies and sneezing and asthma? Well, Peter Sullivan said that his kids started getting really sick and having allergies and sensory overload and light sensitivity, and he realized it was from all the EMF at their school. So if you think you're having trouble with EMF, why not just cut back? Turn your phone off for a day. So your home should be your safe place, a place where you can feel good and let your body heal and recover. And there are now organizations and businesses that will go into your home and show you how you can mitigate your EMF. Rearranging furniture and watching for hot spots and for replacing certain types of bulbs. And interestingly enough, we all want internet speed, right? But the higher your internet speed, the higher the level of radiation in your home. Think about that. And that's what everybody, that's the pitch, right? We'll give you faster internet speed. Well, you're also getting a higher level of radiation. And if you don't turn that Wi-Fi off at night, your body's not going to have a chance to repair itself like it does usually if you have a good night's sleep. You think Apple's going to tell you about that? You think Samsung's going to tell you about that? They know about it. If I know about it, they know about it. But they don't want to lose your business, and they don't want lawsuits from cancer. So, you can use bed canopies and EMF shielding. But one thing, that costs some money. One thing that doesn't cost money is turning your Wi-Fi off at night. That is so important. Turn your cell phone to airplane mode at night. Don't charge your phones in the room where you're sleeping. And all these smart washers and dryers and whatever, they put out a lot of EMF. Anything wireless is going to put out a lot of EMF. Don't put your phone to your head or near you. Use the speakerphone. Distance is your friend, ladies and gentlemen. When you carry your phone, unless it's a strict emergency, turn it on airplane mode before you put it in your pocket. They also have EMF cages in pockets for a phone that you can put your phone in and put it in and carry it that way. Bluetooth is part of the problem too. Bluetooth is part of the EMF problem. So EMF can affect almost everything. From the bees, the birds, down to our children and our pre-born children. My opinion is there's no doubt they are dangerous. And there's no doubt that EMF is a silent killer. It's not normal to have nosebleeds at night. It's not normal to have headaches or be flaky and not sleep well. That's not normal. But you have no idea what to do unless you realize it could be electromagnetic fields. And maybe you should try turning your cell phones and your Wi-Fi off at night. Our kids shouldn't be on antidepressants and drugs. We should try controlling the electromagnetic fields first. I mean, does that make any sense to anybody but me? So look, your mitochondria, that would be like 5 podcasts to tell you about your mitochondria. But we really discuss it, I'm sorry to say. But if you have 100 trillion cells, you got probably 800 trillion mitochondria. They're the powerhouses of our cells, and they have a lot of functions to keep us healthy. But they're very sensitive to damage. And if they're not functioning properly, guess what you get? Fatigue, muscle aches, muscle pains, digestive problems, breathing problems. Does that strike a bell with anybody? Now, these little specialized guys, they're in every human cell but the red blood cell. And they have their own DNA. And they are our powerhouses. They are our batteries. They generate a lot of energy for us. But they also have something else that they have to do. They have to support our immune system. So remember we talked about EMF can cause a lot of release of cortisol that puts our body into a stress mode. Well, if your mitochondria can't be two places at once. It can't be producing energy on one hand and help you feel good, breathing and eating and generating all kinds of energy from ATP, and then fighting off this stress mode. Okay, so if most of their energy is going to function fighting off the stresses, there's not going to be any time for it to produce all that energy we need. So that's just a really simple explanation of what's going on with the energy from the mitochondria, because it has more to do with DNA and RNA and protein synthesis. But basically, the mitochondria have two jobs: keep us energized and help our immune system fight off infection and fight off stressors. So if it don't have time, if it's fighting off stressors and fighting on two fronts, it don't have enough time to produce all the ATP we need to stay energized. Doesn't have enough time to watch our calcium. And calcium is essential for our cell metabolism. So you get the idea. If we have so much EMF, and it's making our mitochondria do a secondary function, not its primary function of keeping us happy, healthy, and high with energy. So the symptoms of mitochondrial problems are probably, we all have them, just tiredness, because our cells are damaged and they can't be put in the shredder. This mitochondria does that too. So if I had list everything all the symptoms of mitochondrial problems, I'll be here for a day. But fatigue, trouble walking, kidney problems, neurological problems, migraines, hearing diseases, hearing disorders. And it isn't just EMF, right? I mean, it is our lifestyle, because our lifestyle controls 92+% of our genetics. It's called epigenetics. We are not a slave to our genes. So we need, so if we have a bad sedentary lifestyle, and we have a lot of inflammation, if we're going to age, we're not going to sleep good, we're going to get diabetes. So we have to we have to take care of the things we can take care of. And today, the message is electromagnetic fields. And we will talk about toxic exposures and poor lifestyles, okay, and poor lab habits. And there's things that can be measured. There are biomarkers that Dr. Russell Jaffe has put in place to measure the amount of stress in your body and how it's affecting your mitochondria. So, turn off the Wi-Fi. Let's go for some good exercise this week. See if we're sleeping better, and try and eat a good nutrient-rich diet without GMOs. Okay, but let's just maybe just pick two of these things. Let's just turn off the Wi-Fi, to put our cell phones in airplane mode. Let's get some good exercise this week, and that would be the message. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. Ron. This podcast is on Spotify. It's on iHeartRadio, iTunes Radio, Podbean, that's where we publish it. It's on a lot of places. Just have to ask for it. Dr. Ron, unfiltered, uncensored. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house.